3.2 Invisible Footprints of the Unknown. Suddenly, a knock, knock, knock from the other side of the door. An unfamiliar sound. The surroundings are silent, as if a thick fog of fear has covered the room. Gradually gathering courage, the door was opened, but outside there was only emptiness. Was it a delusion of the mind, or is an unseen presence truly following our silent lives? Dear audience, has such a mysterious moment ever come into your life? Then you can fearlessly let us know. We promise your identity will remain completely confidential. This is a small request. Many of you listen to our stories and feel them, but forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Your reaction is our strength, which moves us forward toward more unknown events. So if you like it, please give a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. When the night gets deep, look outside the window. Maybe some invisible footprint is still following you. Dear listeners, the first incident we will hear in today's video was emailed to us by Manowar Ali from Dhaka. So, without further delay, let's read the story from the email sent by Manowar Ali. Ali wrote in his email, Assalamu alaikum Tamim Hassan Bhai. How are you? I hope you are well by the infinite mercy of Almighty Allah. I am also well, Alhamdulillah. Tamim Hassan Bhai. I live in Kamrangir Char, Dhaka. My name is Manowar Ali, and I am currently teaching. For certain reasons, I am not mentioning the name of the institution where I teach. The incident I am sending you today happened to one of my colleagues. At that time, he was approximately 23 or 24 years old. Now his age is close to 30. I heard the story from him, therefore I am sending it to you exactly in his words. Assume his name is Tamim Hassan. Tamim Hassan says, whenever I remember this incident, the hair on my body still stands up. You might think I am exaggerating, but every word, every moment that I am about to describe is a terrifying truth of my life. The story began about a year ago. I had just finished university. I desperately needed a job. Tuitions were my only reliance. After a lot of searching, I found a tuition. The salary was unusually high. The student's name was Ifti, 17 years old, a brilliantly talented, calm, and very cheerful boy. My relationship with him wasn't just teacher-student, it had become somewhat friendly. The only problem was the commute. Ifti's house was at the very edge of the city, meaning where the city's traffic, noise, and mechanical life end, their area begins. A huge old house. The area was so secluded that after the Maghrib Adhan, not even a kitten could be seen on the street. It took at least 40 to 45 minutes to walk from my house to theirs, and getting a rickshaw or CNG in that area was almost impossible. I later learned that Ifti's parents had tried to find many teachers for him before, but no one was willing to come and teach in this deserted area every night. That's why they increased the salary amount significantly, hoping that someone might agree for the sake of money, and I fell into that trap. It had been about 2 months since I started teaching Ifti. My routine was fixed. I would go every day at 7 p.m. Doing lessons, chatting, and having fun. It would be 9 p.m. or sometimes 9:30 p.m. Then I would head home along the deserted road. That day was no exception. It was 7:30 p.m. I was explaining a complex chemical reaction to Ifti. He was absorbing the lesson so well that I was also enjoying teaching him. I didn't realize how time passed. When the clock hands hit 9:30, I closed the book. "That's it for today, Ifti. We'll start from here tomorrow," I said. Ifti gave his familiar smile and said, "Okay, sir, go carefully." I put the bag on my shoulder. Ifti's mother, as usual, came to see me off at the gate. She was a very good person, always making some snacks for me. "Son, go carefully. Nowadays the area has become even silenter. It's very scary at night." I reassured her, "Don't worry, Kalama. I've gotten used to it. Alla Barossa. Trust in God." I opened the gate and stepped onto the street. Ifti's house was at the end of a long, narrow lane. It took at least 10 minutes to reach the main road through this lane. Tonight felt a bit different from other nights. There was a slice of a hazy moon in the sky. The sodium streetlights were on, but their light seemed dim and lifeless. The surroundings were so silent that I could hear my own heart. Even the sound of crickets wasn't there today. I started walking. There was no sound other than the clack-clack of my shoes. This abnormal silence seemed to increase my fear even more. The play of light and shadow in this lane was excessive. The part between two light posts remained drowned in deep darkness. Every time I passed through a dark section, I felt someone might jump on me from inside that darkness. I had curiosity about this area from before. People here didn't come out at night at all. I had asked Ifti's parents a few times, but they always avoided the topic. The place is quiet, that's why. Old people go to sleep early. But I felt there was some other incident behind this, something they wanted to hide from me, some fear that didn't let them out of the house at night. The corner of the lane was just a few yards away. From there, the main road could be seen. I almost ran to the corner. My heart was jumping so much that I could hear its sound in my own ears. Reaching the corner, I couldn't help but stop. I had to be sure one last time. I looked back again. No, there was no one. The whole lane was like a horror movie set, still, lifeless. I didn't stay for another moment. I quickly moved toward the main road. Coming into the light of the road, my heart's pounding decreased a bit. I took deep breaths. Allah protect me. It must be the day's fatigue. Otherwise, why would there be such a strange feeling? I thought maybe I got a bit too scared today. Everything would be fine after going home and showering with warm water. But I didn't know that this was just the beginning, the first signal of a terrifying experience that was going to change my life forever. Even after reaching the main road, my discomfort didn't go away. Although I left the lane of Ifti's area behind, that eerie feeling didn't seem to leave me. I felt that invisible gaze was still following me. Although the road was wide, there were almost no people moving at this time. The big trees on both sides of the road had taken on all sorts of strange shapes in the hazy moonlight. The light and shadow filtering through the leaves created various strange patterns on the road, which further disturbed my fearful mind. Every shadow figure seemed alive to me. I was walking fast. Walking for about another 15 minutes on this road leads to a small market area where there's a slight possibility of getting a rickshaw or CNG. In these 2 months, I hadn't found any vehicle before reaching the main intersection even once. The surroundings were as silent as before. Only the sound of my shoes was shattering that silence. Clack, clack, clack. On the empty road, the sound was heard abnormally loud. Suddenly, I felt another sound was occurring, right in rhythm with the sound of my shoes. Clack, clack, clack. stopped dead. Immediately, the sound behind me also stopped. Someone seemed to hit my chest with a cold hammer. My throat was dry as a bone. Did I hear wrong? I sharpened my ears. No, there was no sound, only the faint sound of a night guard's whistle floating from afar, which made the environment even more mysterious. Even the wind seemed to have stopped at this moment. Maybe it's just the echo of my shoe sounds. I tried desperately to reassure myself. In this empty road surrounded by trees, such a thing can happen. The sound is echoing. I started walking again, this time a bit slower, keeping my ears sharp. Clack, clack. Again that sound, right behind me. Just as I stepped, the sound came exactly like that, as if someone was copying my walking. No, this isn't an echo. If it were an echo, there would be a slight gap between the sounds. This was happening exactly with my footsteps, or a moment later. I no longer had the courage. I almost started running. But the strange thing was, the faster I moved my feet, the faster that sound of footsteps behind me became. It seemed that whoever or whatever was following me had also started running. The distance was gradually decreasing. I started chanting the name of Almighty Allah in fear. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, I was whispering. I had lost the courage to turn my neck and look back. I only knew I had to escape from here as quickly as possible. While running, my breath was getting stuck. I felt my lungs would burst. I couldn't take it anymore. Just then, as I turned a bend, I saw the scene. A CNG was standing by the road. Both headlights were on, but the light was somehow dim and yellowish. In these 2 months, such an incident had never happened. On a deserted road at around 10 p.m., before reaching the main crossroad, a CNG was standing there. It was as unimaginable as finding a golden deer. My fear turned into surprise and relief in an instant. I didn't delay another moment. I ran toward the CNG. I didn't care about anything else. The sound of those footsteps behind me seemed to fade away in the face of this relief. Alhamdulillah, I breathed a sigh of relief. "Will you go, brother? Will you go?" I said, panting as I reached the CNG. A man was sitting in the driver's seat, but neither the streetlight nor the CNG's headlight fell properly on his face. In the dim darkness, only the outline of the man could be understood. He didn't say a word. He just nodded in agreement. I thought maybe the man liked to talk less, or perhaps he was also annoyed standing alone on this deserted road. "I'll go to Destination Mame." I stated my destination. "What's the fare?" The driver still didn't say a word. He just signaled with his hand for me to get into the CNG. I was a bit surprised. He was asking me to get in without fixing the fare. Was the man new to the area? Usually CNG drivers haggle quite a bit over the fare, but this man was a total exception. Anyway, I didn't have time to think about all this now. To escape from that eerie feeling behind me, this CNG was a special mercy from Almighty Allah at this moment. I didn't delay another moment. I plopped down on the back seat of the CNG. As soon as I sat, the CNG started moving without any sound, like an electric car, smooth. No sound of starting, no roar of the engine, nothing. Although I was a bit surprised, I breathed a sigh of relief. At least I won't have to walk anymore. I'm safe now from this terrifying silence. After the CNG started moving, I looked toward the rearview mirror, an unconscious attempt to see the driver's face, but the mirror was turned in such a way that nothing behind could be seen. Only the yellow streetlights were moving back quickly. I thought, fine, it's good. Maybe the man realized I was in a great hurry, so he started moving without talking. I leaned back against the seat. Tonight's events had taken a great toll on my nerves. I tried to think with my eyes closed. Was the sound of those footsteps behind me real, or was it a mistake of my mind? The strange silence of Ifti's area, people not coming out at night. Is there truly a sign of something bad behind all this? While I was immersed in these thoughts, I didn't even notice that the CNG wasn't moving at a normal speed at all. It seemed to be flying over the road. The relief I first felt sitting in the CNG gradually began to turn into a kind of suppressed discomfort. The first reason was the driver's abnormal silence. Since I got into the CNG, the man hadn't uttered a single word. Even when I talked about the destination and asked about the fare, he didn't respond. He had only nodded his head and signaled with his hand. I thought to myself, maybe he is mute. But immediately after, it occurred to me that even if he were mute, he could have confirmed the fare through signals or in some other way. But he did nothing. He was just driving the CNG, and that driving was also strange. The way the man was sitting in the driving seat made him look like a carved stone statue. He was holding the steering wheel, but there was no movement in his body. Usually, drivers lean a bit to the left or right depending on the road, turn their heads or honk, but this man was absolutely still, as if he and the CNG had become one. His head didn't turn left or right even once. I tried to see through the rearview mirror again. No, there was no way to see the man's face. The mirror was turned so that only a part of the back seat was visible. However, his shoulders and the back of his head could be seen. He was wearing an old, dirty cap on his head. Well, at least I got a CNG. That's a lot, I convinced myself. If I could get a CNG at this time every day, I wouldn't have to worry. In these 2 months of commuting, I have felt in my bones how difficult it is to return from this area at night. I thought the man might be someone from the area. Maybe a sufferer like him had come out with a CNG at night. Besides, the man was very good. I praised the driver in my mind. He would agree to whatever I would say was good. Maybe he didn't prolong the talk. That's better. But these relief-filled thoughts didn't last long. The trouble started after the CNG left the route and got onto the main road. Usually at this time there is some traffic on the road, or at least cars move slowly because people start returning home after finishing office or work. But our CNG seemed to be moving at lightning speed without caring about anything. At first I thought the road was empty, but I looked out the window and saw it wasn't so. Other rickshaws, buses, private cars, everything was there, but our CNG was overtaking them like a snake, sometimes through narrow spaces between 2 cars, as if the other cars were standing still and only we were moving. The speed was abnormal. I felt the CNG was rushing at the speed of a bullet train. The shops, billboards, and people on both sides of the road were blurring into a line and disappearing behind. I could hear nothing but a sharp whoosh sound of the wind. Even the normal sound of an engine seemed absent. My chest started pounding again. What is happening? How can a CNG move so fast? I tried to look at the meter panel, but nothing could be seen due to the darkness and the driver's body blocking the view. "Brother, drive a bit slower. Why are you driving so fast? You'll have an accident," I said, almost shouting. But there was no reaction from the driver. He was sitting just as he was, like a statue. My words didn't even seem to reach his ears. He was holding the steering the same way, looking ahead. "Are you listening, brother? Drive the car slowly, I'm telling you." I leaned toward the front of the seat to tap the driver's shoulder. My throat was drying up in fear. But before my hand could touch his shoulder, the CNG stopped with a violent jerk. I almost crashed into the front grille. I somehow managed to steady myself. My heart had come up to my throat. I looked outside and was surprised to see that I had arrived in front of my house. I was stunned. How is this possible? The road that takes at least 20 to 25 minutes by rickshaw, auto, or tempo every day. I have covered that road in just 10 to 12 minutes today. It's unbelievable. I looked toward the house. Yes, the calculation is correct. I left at 9:30 p.m., then a 10-minute walk, then getting into the CNG. Altogether, it's only 10:05 now. My head isn't working. Am I having some nightmare? I went to open the door to get out of the CNG. Is this man a normal human or something else? Should I thank the man for this high speed or be afraid of his strange behavior? I only knew I had to get out of this CNG as quickly as possible. I took the wallet out of my pocket. My hands were shaking. After this unbelievable 10-12-minute journey, my nerves weren't working properly. I just wanted to pay the man his due and get out of this CNG as fast as possible. With trembling hands, I took out 100 taka note. It was more than the usual fare, but at this moment I had neither the desire nor the mental state to bargain. Here, take it. I held the money toward the man. It was dim darkness inside the CNG. Although there was light from the streetlights of the locality, it wasn't reaching the driver's seat properly. The driver extended his right hand to take the money, and seeing that hand, my heart skipped a beat. My blood seemed to turn into ice in an instant. For a second, under the yellow light of the road, what I saw was not to be believed. The man's hand was not the hand of a normal human. The hand was somehow swollen, pale white, and fingers. I clearly saw the man had only 4 fingers, index, middle, ring, and pinky, but the thumb was missing. Not only that, the skin of the hand wasn't smooth. It was somehow rough and shiny, just like fish scales. In terror, I clutched the money tightly in my fist. My whole body was becoming numb with fear. Am I seeing correctly, or has my head been messed up by the jolts of the abnormal speed? Is my eye deceiving me? I couldn't give the money to the man's hand. My hand retracted involuntarily. I pressed both hands along with the money to my chest. My breathing became heavy. I desperately looked at the man's face. The face was faint. The man had wrapped a muffler or a handkerchief around his nose and mouth in such a way that nothing but the 2 eyes and the upper part of the nose could be seen. Those 2 eyes looked like 2 holes in the darkness. No emotion, no expression, still, blinkless. The driver didn't say a word. He extended his hand again. This time he moved his hand a bit, as if signaling to give the money. But no, he didn't speak. Only his head, which had been still as a statue until then, tilted slightly toward the money in my hand. Fearfully, I looked at the man's hand a second time. My heart was thumping. I was praying to Almighty Allah that what I saw was wrong, but this time what I saw increased my confusion even more. The hand was perfectly normal. 5 fingers, including the thumb. Skin just like a normal human's. No scales, no swelling. It was the hand of an ordinary, hard-working person. I was bewildered. Then what did I see just a moment ago? Was it just a mistake of my eyes? The fatigue of the whole night, the fear of walking alone on the road, and the abnormal speed of this CNG, combined, was I having a hallucination? What happened? Give the money. The driver spoke for the first time, a rough, garbled voice, as if someone hadn't spoken for many years and suddenly speaking made such a sound come out of the throat, or as if someone was speaking from a place with wetness. The voice was so lifeless that it gave me goosebumps again. I didn't delay for a second. I thought maybe I didn't see it correctly the first time, the play of light and shadow. I almost threw the money into the man's extended hand. As soon as the money fell into his hand, he retracted it. I quickly opened the CNG door and stepped onto the street. While getting out, I tried to look at the man's face once more, but by then the man had already turned the CNG. The intense light of the headlights fell on my eyes. I shielded my face with my hands, blinded by the glare. In the next moment, the CNG disappeared into the night darkness at the same speed that it had come. Not for a second did I see its brake light or indicator glow. Only a whoosh sound faded into the wind. I stood there on the road. My feet seemed stuck to the ground. My whole body was shaking. I looked at my own hands. Normal. I looked at the road. Normal. I looked at my house gate. Everything was normal. Then what was it that happened just a while ago? That four-fingered, scaly hand, was it real or a mistake of my mind? I found no answer. I staggered toward the gate of my house. Only one thought was in my head. Had I crossed paths with something evil, or was it just a nightmare? I rang the calling bell. My mother opened the door. "Hey, why so early today?" I couldn't give any answer. I just entered the house with a pale face. I felt as if I had just come out of deep, cold water. My body was shaking, but not from cold, from fear. I decided not to tell this incident to anyone. If I did, people would think I was crazy. After entering the house, I almost staggered to my room. My mother was calling from behind. "Hey, won't you eat anything? Why is your face so dry? Are you unwell?" I could only say, "I'm not hungry, Ma. Feeling very tired. I'll shower and sleep." I came into the room and locked the door. I threw the bag to one side and plopped down on the bed. Only one scene, one question was circling in my head. That four-fingered, scaly hand. Did I really see it? Or was it all a mistake of my mind? I held my head with both hands. I'm a science-minded boy, a rationalist. I'm an educated boy. I'm not supposed to believe in these things, but what I saw was so clear. I can't forget the shock of that first look in any way. And the second time when I saw the hand was normal, what was that? It could be that I had misseen in the light and shadow of the road. Maybe the man was wearing a glove that I didn't notice properly. Or maybe the man has some skin disease on his hand that looks like scales. Yes, that could be. I tried to convince myself. Maybe the man's hand is deformed for some reason, so he keeps his face and hands covered with a handkerchief and gloves or something, and I saw things wrong due to fear. But this logic couldn't completely calm my mind. That abnormal speed, that sitting like a statue, that lifeless voice, I can find no logical explanation for anything. Finally, finding no way out, I consoled my mind by saying, "Why would a man's hand be strange? It must have been a mistake of my mind. After the day's toil, my brain might have played a trick on me." Thinking this, I changed clothes, showered with warm water, and went to bed. But my sleep that night was not good. Repeatedly, I was dreaming of a four-fingered, scaly hand coming to choke my throat. The next day was a kind of daze. University classes, hanging out with friends. I couldn't focus anywhere. Repeatedly, the incident of last night kept coming back to me. I decided that while going to teach Ifti today, I would ask Ifti's parents some more questions about the area. Maybe they know something. In time, I set off for Ifti's house again. But today, while entering the mouth of that familiar lane of Ifti's, my heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, I felt an eerie sensation. Never before had I felt this way while entering this lane. Today it seems to me that the houses on both sides of the lane are looking at me. The dark corners seem even darker. The air feels somehow heavy. I started walking fast, chanting the name of Almighty Allah in my mind. Reaching Ifti's house, I rang the calling bell. Ifti's mother opened the door. "Come in, son," she smiled normally. I went inside. During the teaching time, I couldn't focus at all. Repeatedly, I remembered last night's events. Ifti probably noticed my distraction. He asked a couple of times, "Sir, are you unwell?" I forced a smile and said, "No, it's fine. You focus on the lesson." At 9:30, I finished the lesson. Today, I don't want to delay for another moment. I said goodbye to Ifti's parents and went toward the gate. I opened the gate and stepped outside, and as soon as I came out, the scene I saw made my blood run cold. Right in front of Ifti's house gate, that CNG was standing, the same CNG from last night, the same dim yellowish headlights. Today I had no more doubt. This is that CNG. But today I wasn't happy. Rather, my chest trembled with an unknown apprehension. Today, for some reason, I didn't want to get into that CNG at all. I thought I would let the CNG wait and walk away, but I couldn't. My feet didn't seem to be listening to me. I saw that I was moving toward the CNG involuntarily. I tried to stop my mind, but my body seemed to have gone under someone else's control. I mechanically opened the CNG door and sat inside. As soon as I sat down, I caught a foul smell. It was the smell of something rotting, like a dead animal decomposing. I pressed my handkerchief to my nose. "What is this smell, brother?" I asked the driver. Today, too, he sat like a statue, his face covered with a cloth. He didn't answer. I got a little annoyed. "Can you hear me? I'm asking what this smell is. It's unbearable." Finally, the man spoke in that same raspy, lifeless voice. "There is no foul smell. Are you joking with me?" I got angry. "I feel like vomiting from the stench, and you're saying there's no smell?" The man didn't reply further and silently started driving the CNG. An unknown fear and unease worked within my chest. To distract myself, I took out my phone and started scrolling through Facebook. After some time, I felt like I had been in the CNG for quite a while, but not unlike last night, it didn't seem to be moving fast. I looked outside, and what I saw made my anger and fear reach their peak. I saw that instead of going toward my house, the CNG had entered that lane in Ifti's neighborhood again, and we were now passing right in front of Ifti's house. "Stop the car!" I shouted. "I'm telling you to stop!" The driver didn't stop, continuing at the same pace. "Can't you hear? I said stop the car!" I gave the man's shoulder a hard push. The CNG stopped with a jolt. "Why did you drive all this way just to come back in front of this house? Are you crazy?" I was trembling with rage. The man slowly turned his neck toward me. His face was still covered, but his eyes were glowing in the dark. Then the man laughed. That laugh was not human. A hideous, grating sound filled the CNG. Even the trees seemed to shiver at the sound. It wasn't a laugh. It sounded like something being grated or cut. At that terrifying sound, my phone slipped from my hand. My hands and feet began to grow numb with fear. I found myself praying to Allah that the man wouldn't turn fully toward me, because if his laugh was this terrifying, how horrifying must he look? That ghastly croaking laugh made my ears ring. It felt like the nerves inside my head were snapping. I pressed both hands over my ears, but couldn't escape the sound. The man kept laughing, and the entire CNG vibrated with his laughter. The fear I had was coming true. I hadn't even imagined this. It felt as if all the strength in my body was sucked out in an instant. I didn't want to stay there another second. I fumbled with my trembling hands to open the door. My fallen phone was under the seat. I snatched it up in one go. My only goal now was to escape. With trembling hands, I opened the door. My legs could no longer carry my weight. I almost tumbled out of the CNG onto the road. I was about to run without looking back when a hand landed on my shoulder. The touch felt like a block of ice being pressed against me. It was so cold that my entire body shuddered instantly. That coldness didn't stay on my shoulder. It felt like it pierced my skin, passed through my muscles, and reached the marrow of my bones. I felt like my shoulder might freeze and shatter into pieces. I froze. All my strength and will to run vanished. I didn't have a shred of courage left to look back. I just felt that if I looked back now, I wouldn't have the strength to bear what I would see. A cold, wet breath brushed against my ear. The rotten smell was even more intense now. It felt like standing next to an open sewer. Then that hideous, raspy voice spoke again, very close, right behind my ear. "Sir, my fare." That voice was not human. It was like an echo rising from a deep grave. The tone of that voice and the way he asked for the fare made me lose my last hope. I didn't dare turn around. Everything went dark before my eyes. I realized I could no longer stand. Within moments, I first fell to my knees on the road and then lost consciousness, collapsing onto the ground. My lifeless body lay right in front of the gate of Ifti's house under the yellowish light of that terrifying CNG. I don't know how long I lay there. When I regained consciousness, I found myself on a familiar bed. No, I recognized it as the sofa in Ifti's living room. A wet cloth strip was on my forehead. "He's awake! Sir is awake!" That was Ifti's voice. Moments later, Ifti's parents rushed into the room. Their faces were full of worry. "Father, what happened to you? Are you okay?" Ifti's mother was almost crying. I couldn't say anything. I tried to speak, but no sound came out of my throat. It wasn't that I had forgotten everything. Rather, that terrifying event, the cold touch, the hideous laugh, that voice, everything was vivid in my mind. Brother, my body was still shivering violently. My teeth were chattering. Ifti's father came and sat near me. "I was returning home from the office and saw you lying unconscious in front of my gate. What happened, son? Did someone do something to you?" I asked for a glass of water with a trembling hand. Ifti ran and brought water. After drinking it, I felt a little better. I didn't want to stay there for another moment. I said in a shaky voice, I can't come here to teach Ifti anymore." Ifti's parents looked at each other. "I know you might not believe me," I said, panting. Then I told them everything that happened over the last 2 nights. The invisible following on the first day, that strange CNG, that 4-fingered claw-like hand, and today's horror. After hearing everything from me, Ifti's parents fell silent. Their faces turned pale. I thought they might think I was crazy or laugh it off, but they said nothing. They didn't push me. Ifti's father just let out a long sigh and said, "Do what you think is best, son. We won't force you. Stay here tonight and rest. In the morning, I'll personally drop you home." That night was the longest of my life. I couldn't close my eyes for a single moment. I just kept chanting the name of Allah. I felt like I could still feel that cold touch on my shoulder. The next morning, as promised, Ifti's father took me home in his car. We didn't speak a word the whole way. That day, I called Ifti's father and told him I wouldn't be able to teach anymore. Since then, I have never set foot in that area again. The air there seems thick with fear. I don't know what I encountered that night. Was it an evil spirit or a shadow figure? I only know that Allah saved me somehow that night. I am still paying off the last fare of that night with a lifetime of fear and trauma. Dear listeners, this was the incredibly terrifying CNG incident that happened in the life of Tamim Hassan. I hope you liked the story. To those who have been with us until this point in the video, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, without further ado, let's move to the final horror of the day. The last incident was emailed to us by Mohammed Ontor from Dhaka, so let's read the incident sent by Ontor in his own words. Ontor wrote in his email, "Assalamu alaikum, Tamim Hassan brother. How are you? I hope by the infinite mercy of Almighty Allah, you, your family, and all the listeners are well. I am well, alhamdulillah. I live in Dhaka, and my name is Muhammad Ontor. Tamim Hassan brother, I'm a regular listener of yours, and not just me, but my elder brother also regularly watches your videos. Anyway, the incident I am sending you today happened to a friend of my colleague. The person it happened to is named Sajol. My colleague heard the story from Sajol himself. I am writing the story according to Sajol's account. Please forgive any writing errors. Sajol says, "That day was different from others. I had earned well, so it was 12 a.m. by the time I finished work. Usually, I head home by 10:30 or 10 p.m., no matter where I am. But that day, out of greed for money, I didn't notice the time. When I realized it was 12 a.m., there were no more passengers in sight. So I thought I'd head home. From where I was, it takes about a half hour or a bit more to get home. To reach quickly, I drove the tempo a bit faster. The road was completely empty. Occasionally, some dogs were barking here and there. I had been driving for about 10-15 minutes. Suddenly, I felt like someone was sitting in the back of my tempo. I was surprised because I was sure there were no passengers in the back. It was completely empty. I looked back once, but no one was there. I thought maybe due to the hard work today, my mind was playing tricks on me. I calmed myself and continued driving. But suddenly, an odd sensation kept repeating in my mind. For some reason, I felt like someone was watching me very closely, observing me meticulously from head to toe. This feeling was so intense that my hair stood on end. It felt like an invisible figure was watching my every move. The silence of the night and the empty road made this feeling even deeper. My heart started thumping. I repeatedly tried to shake off these strange thoughts, but I couldn't. I felt that in this silent night, I wasn't alone. An unknown terror was slowly rooting inside me. I was afraid to look in the mirror. What if I saw something there that was beyond my capacity to bear? My hands were shaking as I held the steering wheel. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, and it was happening due to fatigue, but the sinister feeling wouldn't go away. Instead, it became clearer with time. It felt like an invisible presence was breathing right behind me. In a terrifying style the voice will give. I felt a cold breeze near my neck, even though the outside air was normal. I wanted to reach home as soon as possible to escape this unknown discomfort, but every minute felt like an eternity. I felt that tonight was going to be a horrific experience of my life. I was just calling out to Allah in my mind for deliverance from this danger. I tried to increase the speed of the vehicle, thinking that reaching home quickly would end these feelings, but the more I sped up, the closer the invisible figure seemed to get. My breathing became rapid. It felt like a freezing wind was coming from the back of the tempo and touching my back. I repeatedly tried to look in the mirror, but nothing was visible. Only the feeling remained that someone was watching me very closely. Beads of sweat began to form on my forehead. It was a feeling I had never had before. I am usually a very brave person, but this night's experience was stripping away all my courage. I started reciting Ayatul Kursi in my mind and sought refuge with Allah. I didn't know what was waiting for me at the bend of this road, but it felt like something evil was following me. As I was pulling myself together and driving the tempo, I suddenly saw a figure from a distance. A woman carrying a baby was walking toward the middle of the road, right in the center, heading toward my tempo. In the light of the tempo's headlights, the woman appeared very dirty, wearing filthy and torn clothes. The baby was only wearing a pair of pants and seemed to be in a deep sleep. Both the woman and the child looked very thin and skeletal. As the tempo got closer to them, a strange feeling arose within me. I wondered why a woman was walking alone with a baby so late at night. I felt uneasy. When the tempo got very close, the woman signaled me with her hand to stop. To be honest, I didn't want to stop at all. My inner self kept forbidding me. But seeing a woman with a small child so late at night made me feel pity. Out of humanity, I stopped the tempo against my will. After stopping, before the woman could say anything, I said, "Sister, it's actually very late today. I can't take any more customers tonight." Hearing me, the woman said in a calm voice, "Aren't you going that way?" I was surprised by her words. I inadvertently said, "Yes, I am going that way." At that moment, I didn't think for once that I had seen this woman for the first time. I had never met or known her before. How did she know which way I was going? That thought didn't cross my mind then. I just stared at the woman in surprise. She said, "I will also go that way. Please take me a little further." Hearing her request, my heart softened. Without thinking much, I took her into my tempo. The woman sat in the back with her child, and I was driving alone in the front. After 5 to 7 minutes, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. That question suddenly came back to me. I have never seen this woman before, so how did she know which way I was going? As soon as this thought entered my head, my whole body went numb. The hair on my neck stood up. I was afraid to look in the mirror. I thought, did I make a mistake? Is this woman normal? Why was she standing there with a baby late at night? Her clothing, those dirty, torn clothes, the baby's condition, everything added up to a sinister feeling in my mind. My hands began to shake as I held the steering wheel. I started remembering Allah's name. It started to feel like I had fallen into the trap of something evil. Were this woman and her child really human or another kind of entity? These questions kept spinning in my mind, and each time an unknown fear consumed me. I felt the air inside my tempo becoming heavy. A sharp, cold sensation ran down my body. I tried to breathe deeply, but it felt like the air was decreasing. What else was waiting ahead? My mind became even more restless with that unknown dread. I just wanted to get out of this situation somehow. When this realization hit me, my hands and feet started shaking with fear. My restlessness grew so much that I couldn't breathe properly. My heart was thumping as if it would burst out. I gently and quietly tried to look back without making a sound because I wanted to know who I had seated in the back of my tempo. I slowed down a bit so I could see clearly. What I saw after looking back made the ground slip from under my feet. I thought I was seeing wrong, but no, I wasn't. I saw that the woman's hair had filled my entire tempo. Her hair had become so long that it seemed to have filled the whole tempo from her head down the seat. Yet when I first saw her, her hair was normal like any other woman's. It wasn't that long. And the most terrifying sight was that child. He who had been sleeping was now sitting and eating the woman's hair. Both of their faces looked horrific. The child's face was distorted and the woman's eyes were glowing red. Looking at them, it felt as if they were entities from another world. At that moment, I didn't know what to do, where to go, or what I should do. My brain seemed to stop working. I started asking for Allah's help in my mind. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out of my throat. After seeing that sight, my condition was such that all the strength in my hands and feet were vanishing. My blood seemed to start curdling. It was a state where I felt I might die of a heart attack at any moment. Tears began to roll down my eyes out of fear. My entire body was soaked in sweat. I felt so helpless, it was beyond words. I kept asking Allah for help. Oh Allah, protect me from this danger. Save me. It felt like this wasn't a nightmare. It was a harsh reality. It felt like an invisible wall had been built around me with no way out. I just wanted to be free from this somehow. It felt like my life might end tonight. Those terrifying figures were slowly consuming me. I was shaking while holding the steering wheel. My hands were becoming numb. I was afraid to close my eyes, lest I see something even more horrific when I opened them. Only one prayer was on my lips, "Allah, you are the only hope. Protect me." It felt as if my soul was trying to leave my body. I was going through an experience that was more terrifying than death. Suddenly, such a strange sound started coming from the back, as if a mother was playing with her child. In the middle of the play, the mother and child were laughing in joy. However, this laughter left a deep mark of fear in my mind. It seemed to increase my fear even more, because behind this laughter was hidden a horrific scene that I had seen with my own eyes. That child's laugh was so enchanting that anyone would be attracted to it. It sounded like a newborn baby laughing with an incredibly sweet voice. But although the sound was sweet, the scene I had seen earlier distorted all the sweetness and beauty. The scene of that childlike thing eating hair kept flashing before my eyes. Their strange faces and behavior wouldn't leave my mind. I was thinking, will I be able to go home tonight? Will I survive tonight? Or is this the last night of my life? Won't I be able to see my family even once before I die? These questions were spinning intensely in my mind, and the most terrifying thing was that I had fallen into the trap of such evil things that people might die of fear before they could even think of anything. My heart felt like it would leap out of my chest. I kept trying not to look in the mirror because that hair-eating scene was so deeply etched in my mind that I couldn't bear it anymore. My body was becoming numb, but my feet were stuck on the pedals. I didn't have the courage to stop the tempo. After a while, the child's laughter stopped and the sound of crying began. While the laughter was sweet, the crying was horrific and ghastly. Each distorted scream of that childlike voice made my heart tremble. I felt like thousands of needles were piercing my ears. The sound of crying was so distorted that I couldn't bear it anymore. I wondered if there was some sinister purpose behind this crying as well. I didn't understand what to do. Once I thought of jumping out of the tempo and running away. The next moment I thought that the horrific evil things I had encountered could finish me in an instant, so it wouldn't be right to stop the tempo. I had to keep moving at any cost and get out of this place as quickly as possible. My body was soaking in sweat, and my breathing was getting faster and faster. I just prayed to Allah that this horrific night would end somehow. It felt like the hands of time had stopped, and these evil things were slowly pushing me toward death. I just looked forward helplessly, with the only hope of returning alive. Suddenly, I heard a loud thumping sound. The sound was so unexpected that I was startled. Looking toward the source of the sound, what I saw made my whole body go cold. I saw that the child had fallen onto the road. The scene was such that, annoyed by the child's screaming, the mother had thrown the child out of the tempo onto the road in rage. Thinking about this made my hair stand on end. I felt as if thousands of needles were piercing my skin. My heart thumped. I was thinking when that horrific woman would come in front of me and kill me in the same way. My mind was overwhelmed with fear. I couldn't imagine how a mother could throw her own child like that. But what happened next was even more terrifying. The child was just thrown onto the road, but in an instant, the child vanished. When I saw the child falling and shaking on the road and then vanishing from my sight in the blink of an eye, my head started spinning. Everything started looking blurry. I couldn't maintain control over the tempo. All the strength in my hands and feet was gone. The steering wheel was about to slip from my hands. I somehow maintained my balance. At that time, a very ghastly female laugh drifted from the back of the the tempo. I was so scared by that sound that I lost the ability to think. My body seemed to freeze. My brain stopped working. I stopped the tempo. Getting down from the tempo, I started to run, but my running speed was like that of a child who has just learned to walk, because my hands and feet were shaking violently, and I felt no strength in my body. My legs couldn't carry me. With great difficulty, after going only 4 or 5 steps forward, I sat down on the ground. It felt as if all my body's strength was exhausted. I thought for the last time that this horrific woman-like evil thing would take my life right now. I didn't dare to look back anymore. Everything in front of my eyes started becoming foggy. I felt like I was passing the last moments of my life. Only those ghastly laughs echoed in my ears. I just called out to Allah in my mind, "Oh Allah, you are the only hope. Protect me." My breathing was becoming weaker. It felt as if my heart would stop at any moment. I just closed my eyes and thought of my family one last time, but only those terrifying figures appeared before my eyes. I felt darkness slowly consuming me. I could feel the cold touch of death. When I sat on the ground and everything started looking blurry, I felt like I could see a child right in front of me. I wiped my eyes to understand the matter, and then I realized it wasn't just any child. It was the child from the woman's lap, the one she had seemingly thrown onto the road with great force. I noticed that the child was looking at me and laughing very hideously with a distorted face. That laugh was so sinister that my blood turned cold. I felt my heart trembling inside my chest. I lay down on the ground from my sitting position because I had no strength left to stand up. Then I saw that child slowly climbing onto my chest and sitting there. His small hand seemed to put pressure on my chest. The child's eyes were unusually red, and his laugh was like a horrific song. And from a distance, the woman's horrific laugh came to my ears in a low volume. That laugh seemed to drift through the air, creating a sinister echo in my ears. Unable to bear this scene anymore, I just whispered, "Allah," and lost consciousness. My eyes closed, and everything went dark. When I regained consciousness, I saw that I was in my own bed at home. It was morning. Sunlight was entering through the window. My wife was sitting beside me, stroking my forehead. When I opened my eyes, my wife told me that some people had called using my phone around 3 a.m. While passing by that road, they found my tempo and found me lying unconscious in front of it. After searching for my phone, they found my wife's number and called her. Hearing the news, my wife called her brother and they brought me home. After hearing all this, I told my wife everything about that night, that woman, that child, the scene of eating hair, the incident of throwing the child onto the road, and the child sitting on my chest, laughing hideously. Hearing my words, my wife became extremely terrified. Her face went pale. She was shaking with fear. The incident of that night had such a deep impact on my life that I could never work as a tempo driver again. From that day, I left the tempo driver job. I didn't want to go to that road anymore. I didn't want to face those evil things. I opened a small vegetable shop in my area. Since that incident, I pray to Allah every night before going to sleep that the experience of that horrific night never return to my life. Even now, occasionally in my sleep, that ghastly laugh and the hair-eating scene appear before my eyes, and I scream in terror. My body still shivers when I remember that night. I know I returned from the jaws of death that day, and that was only by the grace of Allah. Listeners, this was the last incident of today. I hope you liked both stories. However, Don't forget to mention in the comments which incident felt more terrifying to you. Also, let us know what kind of stories you want to hear and from where you regularly listen to our stories. Your small comment is a great feeling and inspiration for us. Many thanks to those who sent us these 2 stories today. Always stay with us like this. We will meet again with someone else's terrifying life experience. Until then, stay with us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe and turn on the bell notification. If you like the video, definitely like it and share it with someone who is as interested as you in these matters. This experience from Ghost 4.2 will surely haunt your dreams.